Have you ever had the feeling that someone was watching you, even when you were completely alone? Most people ignore that feeling. They tell themselves it's just stress, just imagination, or simply the result of a long day at work. But sometimes, that feeling isn't your imagination. Sometimes, it's a warning. My name is Ethan Carter, and what happened to me one Thursday night in Dubai changed my life forever. For 6 years, my life had been predictable. I worked as a financial analyst in downtown Dubai. Every morning was the same. Every evening was the same. Work, coffee, meetings, deadlines, and finally the metro ride home. Nothing unusual had ever happened to me until that night. It was 11:54 p.m. when I finally walked out of my office building. The city was still glowing with lights. Glass skyscrapers reflected the skyline. Expensive cars moved quietly through the streets, and everything looked perfectly normal. I checked my phone. The last metro train of the night would arrive in less than 2 minutes. If I missed it, I'd have to take a taxi home, and the fare would cost more than I wanted to spend. So I ran. My footsteps echoed across the nearly empty station. The warning chimes sounded. The train doors were already closing. At the very last second, I slipped inside. The doors shut behind me. I smiled to myself. I thought I had gotten lucky. I had no idea that I had just stepped into the longest night of my life. The train pulled away from the station and disappeared into the tunnel beneath the city. The carriage was unusually quiet. I looked around. There were only a handful of passengers. An elderly man quietly reading a newspaper, a young woman wearing headphones, a businessman focused on his laptop, a teenager staring at his phone, and one man dressed in a long black coat. Something about him immediately caught my attention. He wasn't reading. He wasn't using his phone. He wasn't even looking around the carriage. He simply stared through the window into the darkness outside, completely still, without blinking. I told myself not to overthink it. People behave strangely all the time. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes for a moment. Then, the announcement played through the speakers. The next station will arrive in approximately 2 minutes. 2 minutes passed, but no station appeared. Instead, the train began to slow down. Then it stopped, right in the middle of the tunnel. The lights flickered once. Then again, the air conditioning shut off. A heavy silence filled the carriage. No one spoke. No one moved. It felt as though the entire train was holding its breath. Then, the man in the black coat slowly stood up. He looked at every passenger one by one. When his eyes met mine, he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who already knew something the rest of us didn't. Then, in a calm voice, he said, "One of us isn't supposed to be here." Every person in the carriage froze. Before anyone could respond, a loud metallic bang echoed through the tunnel, and the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the entire carriage. For a few endless seconds, no one could see anything. No faces, no movement, no light. The only sound I could hear was my own breathing. Then, a dim red emergency light flickered on above the doors. The carriage slowly came back into view. Everyone was exactly where they had been sitting. The young woman, the businessman, the teenager, the man in the black coat. I looked toward the elderly man. His seat was empty. His newspaper lay neatly folded on the floor. But the man himself had vanished. No one had heard a door open. No one had heard a scream. The train had never moved. There was simply no way he could have disappeared. The teenager stood up first. "That's impossible," he whispered. The businessman rushed to the train door and tried to look through the window. Nothing, only darkness. I slowly picked up the newspaper from the floor. As I unfolded it, a small card slipped out. It looked like an old Metro Access card. The photograph showed the elderly man. I turned it over. The expiration date immediately caught my attention. It had expired 14 years ago. A cold chill ran down my spine. Before I could think about it, I noticed a handwritten note tucked inside the newspaper. Contained only one sentence. "Do not trust the man in the black coat." My heartbeat became louder. I quietly folded the note and slipped it into my pocket. Almost instantly, I felt someone watching me. I looked up. The man in the black coat was staring directly at me. His expression was calm, almost amused. "What did the note say?" he asked. I forced a smile. "Nothing important." He continued staring at me for another few seconds. Then he smiled again. "You just made your first mistake." Before I could respond, the train speakers suddenly crackled. A broken voice echoed through the carriage. "Attention, passengers." Static interrupted the message. "Please remain calm." More static. "Do not leave the train." The transmission ended. Silence returned. The businessman let out a nervous laugh. "It's probably just a power failure." No one answered him. Something outside the window caught my eye. At first, I thought it was a reflection. But then, a person slowly emerged from the darkness. He appeared to be wearing a Metro security uniform. Relief washed over me. Finally, someone had come to help us. The security officer walked slowly toward the train. His steps were unnaturally slow. His head remained lowered. He wasn't carrying a flashlight. He wasn't speaking into a radio. He simply kept walking. Step, step, step. Finally, he stopped beside my window. For a moment, he didn't move. Then, he slowly lifted his head. His face remained hidden in the shadows. Without saying a single word, he raised one finger and slowly drew it across his throat. A warning. Before I could react, the emergency lights went out again. The carriage was swallowed by darkness. When the lights returned, the security officer was gone. There was no one outside, only the empty tunnel. I looked around the carriage. "Did anyone else see him?" I asked. The young woman nodded. "I saw someone, but I couldn't see his face." The businessman frowned. "There wasn't anyone out there." I stared at him in disbelief. He was standing right outside this window. The businessman slowly shook his head. "No, I think you're imagining things." Then, a sharp electronic beep echoed through the carriage. Every passenger looked toward the display above the train doors. The screen flickered. Instead of showing the next station, it displayed four chilling words. Passenger count 7. I counted everyone inside the carriage. Myself, the young woman, the businessman, the teenager, the man in the black coat. 5 people. The elderly man was gone. So why did the train believe there were 7 passengers? I counted again. Myself, the young woman, the businessman, the teenager, the man in the black coat. 5 passengers. That was all. Yet the digital display continued to glow. Passenger count 7. No matter how many times I counted, the number never changed. A heavy silence settled over the carriage. No one knew what to say. Then, a soft tapping sound echoed